Hey everyone, welcome back to the 52-week challenge, writing a book with Tracee. We are working towards the goal of writing a nonfiction book, and I hope that it's coming along, hopefully week 2. And if you've been looking at the blog, to also give you some more insight and to drive home some points that I've been making. Hopefully that has inspired you and given you some more fodder to use to keep writing, keep going. And I'll go more in depth into actual chapters and things like that as we get into week 4, well actually week 5 and 6. So next month we're going to be talking about more about actual content. But this whole entire month, if hopefully you noticed a little bit of a theme, has been to really get you organized and set you up for success and really lay a solid foundation as far as what you're going to be writing so that you can really have the stamina and prevent those what are called sagging middles from hampering you, as you move along and as you continue to write more and more and more. So I really want to stress the importance of a solid foundation and doing the groundwork and doing some of this preliminary work. Please go along with it, try it, do it as best you can. Even if you feel like you're already organized, you already know what you're doing, you have some partial of that. It's still important to kind of go through the motions and go through the steps, because later you'll be full throttle and you don't want to turn around and be like, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. Now I have to take a break because I have to go back and do some of those. Let's get started with tools. And what I'm calling them is now and later. Tools that you'll need when you're writing. You have your space, those are also tools. You have your place, whatever, section. We talked about organization last time. This is about the tools that you're going to be using and how all of that is going to work. So a couple of things. The first 5 things that I think you need like right now are obviously a way to capture notes. And I mean, beyond a notebook, I mean, if you're on the go, you don't have any paper, you don't have a pen, what else can you use? What if you want to write a whole chapter and it just comes to you in a stroke of genius, or you're in the zone and you just happen to be somewhere sitting or waiting for your child or doing whatever? What are you going to do to type that out really fast? So I use Evernote, and yes, sometimes Evernote can get a little cluttered and I kind of don't know where some things are, but for the most part, I am able to go back and find those things and kind of put them where they need to go. So don't underestimate Evernote. You can also use OneNote, or you can use your Google Drive. You have to have a Gmail account in order to use the Google Drive. And I'll be mentioning Google Drive again in a minute because it's also vital for another piece of tools that you need to get started. So just having a more electronic way. There are so many other note-taking devices. I'm only mentioning the top 3 ones: Evernote, OneNote, and Google Drive, that people use to capture their information. But there are lots of apps and there are lots of different things. But also read the reviews that people have said. You always have to worry about syncing, making sure it's syncing up with your main note capturing or word processing tool. I actually don't really sync mine. I just keep the notes, and then when they're there, I may send them to myself. I may go in and get them out or cut and paste what I wrote and use it that way. Or, I don't really need them to sync. I just want to be able to capture it at that moment and use it later. And so I use Evernote, and I've been using it for a few years and it's great. So I have it on my computer. Obviously, you can put it on your desktop, and I have it on my phone in an app. So be sure to do that and really think about getting the apps for things. I don't like a lot of apps because of identity and privacy notices and all these settings that you have to then worry about. But if you have a few key ones that you can use, don't really get bogged down with how many apps you have. Just use a few. And if you don't like it, at least try it for a little while. If you really don't like it, then you can just delete it. You can copy and paste everything from it and send it to yourself in an email, and then just delete it and be done with it. Of course, it's never really deleted. Everything's always out there, but you really can't worry about those things all the time. The second thing is for Google to get you a Gmail account so that you can have a way to back up your writing. If you write on a desktop with using a word processing, system, then you want to back that up sometimes. You may want to back up the entire story or back up snippets of it just so you don't lose that. If you're not going to invest in a external hard drive that won't get burned up or fried when you lose, when your computer crashes, then at least back it up. You can have 15 gigabytes of storage for free just by having a Gmail account. I'm sure there are lots of other accounts if you're anti-Google that can let you have free storage. So don't forget about those. I am so happy that when I lost one of my stories, I had actually written that story via email. And I will put a link to a woman that wrote her story all in email and ended up getting a book contract, a book deal for I think it was women's literature or women's lit or chick lit, which isn't really a genre anymore, but it used to be. And this was pretty recent. So she probably a women's lit story that she wrote all through using either her phone or just something that most of us don't use for long periods of time. But the younger generation is using them all the time for everything, and so it is a way to get it done. And if you really want to get it done, you'll make it happen. That I wrote something in email, and then when it crashed and I lost it, I was so thankful for the emails, and the emails were automatically organized by date and time. And so all I had to do was go find the earliest one, and then all the pieces that I sent to myself, able to piece them back together somehow. And make it work and cut and paste them. But I still kept the emails. That's actually how I write when I'm in my writers group that meets at our local grocery store, the Wegmans in my area. And I would just write an email because I didn't want to lose it. I knew the email would keep saving. And also if it didn't save, the email would usually be saved in draft format if I ever forget to send it to myself. So I have sent myself probably over 50 emails, and they're all there in order, and I was able to cut and paste the text that I put in there out of it and get it for the story. So I was able to rebuild that pretty quickly than if I had used something else. So there's more than one way to get this thing done. The third thing is that even though I mentioned a word processing tool, something to keep the entire story, Evernote, OneNote, and the Google Drive, there's a Word type of document. It's not Word, it's not a Microsoft product, obviously, but there is a way to use that, and just type your stuff that way. You can also pay a subscription for Microsoft Word and some of the other programs, Excel and PowerPoint and all that, but you really don't need those things anymore. There's enough free options, enough tools available to you that you don't have to really invest and buy those things. You can if you want. I love Word. When I first got a Mac for a birthday present a few years ago, I bought Microsoft Word 2011 just because I was in the middle of a book that was what I was used to working with, and I didn't want to really learn anything else at the time, so I did buy it. But now I don't think they're offering that anymore. It's kind of a pain. It's very disappointing that they want to kind of tie and tether you to their programs for like the rest of your life, it seems like. But if you really need that, if you're really used to that, that is the way to do it. But there's also more than one way, and so you just have to explore those and see what else is available if you really want to not make the investment. And then lastly is just a printer. I know people do not print anymore, but if you want to edit your work and really do a good job of it, I believe, and you will hear most editors say this, that printing out something and writing on the paper really is a different aesthetic. It appears differently, it looks different. You're able to write on it, write in the margins. So even if you don't print out your entire book, I still encourage you to print it out some kind of way. Put it in a binder, what have you. I know people are getting away from printers and nobody owns a printer, but when mine breaks down, I still buy another one. The printer isn't expensive anymore. What's expensive is the ink. So if you're just going to print out your book and you're going to do those, once, 2 times a year or so, then it really will still be a great and wonderful investment. There's also through HP, which makes printers and obviously computers and everything, Hewlett-Packard. There is an ink on demand. So the printer can actually communicate through Wi-Fi with HP in your account and see when you're running low on ink. So you can never be without ink. I did try that. I didn't like it as much, but I've heard other people say I did think it was worth it, and I do think it's cheaper than buying ink cartridges. At the same time, I either didn't pick the right plan for how much printing I was doing, and I feel like, it was just constantly running out. So I'd rather just buy the ink cartridges and insert them. And also, sometimes ink cartridge readings aren't really empty, even though they say they are. And just a little, taking it out, putting it back in, turn it on, turn it off, can reset that and get a few more pages out of that. So those are the things you have to be careful of. It's just to really watch your count, choose the right option for whatever you're printing, and then, or just buy ink cartridges. And as soon as you put some in, maybe buy some more so that they are waiting around and you're not stuck when you run out. So those are really 5 things that you need right now that I think. And obviously the printer, you can wait until you're getting close to the end of your book. At the same time, you might want to print out passages. You might want to see how fonts look. And you really won't know that unless you actually print it and see how it looks. And so that is something to think about. But you could wait on that. And again, you don't have to get any of this stuff. It's just suggestions. And these are things that I am using, that I've always used through the years, and things that I like to keep and have on hand when I'm writing, because I write. But it's going to be different for everybody. It doesn't matter the method, so long as you are comfortable and you get what you need, to do, and make it happen and get it done. Some tools that I think that you'll need later, maybe as you near the book end, the end of the book, and it's getting towards completion, are to think about a website. Websites are really, really cheap right now. They have come down tremendously. You no longer need a major graphic designer. I did my website probably for 13 years, and I recently, in 2018, paid someone to redo my website. But for 13 years, I did my own site and just paid about $90 to have someone set up the basic pages for me. I did about 5 pages, an about me, a contact me page, a books page, and I'd have to look at my website. My website is probably now 13 pages, maybe 17 pages long, of different things with the books and all the stuff that I'm doing. But back then, you can get away with 3. Now you can get away with 3 pages. A bio, and about me, the products that you have to offer, your book, obviously, and then like a blog page. I think that even if you're just starting out, people always ask, well, what do I have to write about? You're writing about your journey and how it's going. And I tell people to write about where they've been. Did you go to a conference? Did you hear a speaker? What did you like about them? What did they say? What did they tell you about writing? Use some of their quotes. And the second thing is to use Canva or any other graphic design making tool to make whatever you heard into a quote, pretty background or a black background or any color, your favorite color, and then make graphics with these quotes on them, and you could put those on your blog. So the WordPress site is something, I love WordPress, but there's a lot of other easy to use sites such as Wix. Hosting is by GoDaddy. People love or hate everything, so don't let that deter you. People have good and bad experiences, obviously, with everything that they use. One person can talk you into it, another person can talk you out of it. It's really what works for you and for you to try it. So I used WordPress, and I used Domain Registry of America for hosting for a long time. And then when my web designer came along, I will link her website in the comments portion and description box for this video. But when she came along, she turned me on to a lot of different things. So now I use HostGator, I'm using WordPress.org, and I don't really see that much of a difference. I didn't have any preference one way or the other. Mine was more about budget and obviously about usability. So those are a couple things that I wanted. And when I had my own site and designed my own WordPress site, somebody did the pages for me and helped set it up and helped link the newsletter to a automated pop-up that comes up to capture people and build your mailing list. That's another reason to have a website, is you can put snippets and excerpts on your website. People can read those and decide they like them, and then when it's time for the book to actually come out, you will have already started generating a mailing list, and you'll have an audience and a fan base built in to start. So even before you write the book, you can get 500 or 1,000 fans and followers to have before you get going, just by creating a blog, capturing those addresses when people come to visit, and talking about your writing journey until you're published. People want to know, how was it? What are you writing about? How'd that meeting go? Did you meet an editor and agent? I've been talking a lot at the end of the year about, you know, doing a coaching call. I'm kind of at a crossroads for some things that are going on. And so having a coaching call, talking about both of them and how they went. Why did I like one? Why did I like the other? What are the differences? Anything that you go through is worth people listening and people hearing about, so they can use it for their own experience and their own ideas, and to help motivate them to also do some of the same things that you're doing. People want to know, and they want to live vicariously, even if you're not popular yet, even if you feel like you're just no one yet. Trust me, you have and are going to experience some interesting things that other people want to know about. And if you write about them in an interesting way, they'll seem that much more exciting. The reason you want to do this now is because you want to think about the handle or the name that you want to use that's going to be with you for the rest of your life. And how is that going to work? And so you want to research who else has that name, the spelling, is it hard, hard to pronounce, hard to remember, little things like that. You'll want to look up and see what's already out there. So your website or your blog, you don't have to have a website, you don't have to have a blog, maybe have one or the other. And then using Canva, canva.com, to create a newsletter or to create something, little graphics and memes and things about your book. Even just create something that looks cute and says new post if you have a new post up for your blog. Most of the graphics that I have created, I would say probably all of them, almost 100% of them, I have done in Canva, including the one for the 52-week challenge that you see in this video at the beginning of the intro. You see things that I have used, and mostly all of them are created in Canva. The next thing you want is a newsletter tool. It won't cost you anything until you get to a certain number of subscribers. Usually 2,000 subscribers for MailChimp, I think, and about the same for Constant Contact. Do not quote me, but you know, you don't want to pay for anything until you have the traction, until you have income coming in. And so for the longest time, I did use Constant Contact, and I still do use it sometimes, but I've thought about not using it and going for a free option. Constant Contact, I asked a friend just to help me set it up, and then it was so user-friendly that I didn't really need any more help. I was just able to do it. And some of the others are a little bit more difficult to navigate, difficult to figure out, and so it can get really cumbersome, and you don't want to do anything if it's going to be too tedious. So really think about that. There's a lot of tutorials on all of these, so think about using those, or you know, watching them to help you. The next thing I don't really use very often, but if I needed to, I did have it for a while. That was called Transfer Big Files. Now, in lieu of that, it was only like $8 a month, and this was when I was needed to transfer either mostly Word documents, not that big, but if I had a file or a picture that I wanted to share with one of my graphic designers to do my book cover, then I needed to have a bigger storage and file sharing option. And Transfer Big Files was something that I could upload whatever my document was, or whatever image or graphic that I have, and then they could use that. They'd get a link, download it, and be able to use it and manipulate it in the book design, graphic design program that they were using. And then they could send it back to me, and I would be able to download it. So it was one way. You can also use Dropbox, and you can also use Google Drive to send those. So don't rush out and buy everything that I'm saying. I'm just giving you ideas about the things that you'll need to think about. Somebody's going to be sending you a huge file, especially if your graphic designers let you have the entire file and all the design incarnations. That's going to be a lot of storage. Another reason to back up your work and to get that external hard drive or something that is going to be able to keep that. The more stuff that you have on your computer, the more processing time it takes, the more it is likely to crash trying to handle all these things. And so you have a lot of big files sometimes when you're working on your work, and it'll be important to manage that and to make sure you don't lose any of it. So Transfer Big Files is just one option. It doesn't have to be something that you use. And sometimes if the person is going to be sending you files, you don't need it at all. if they have it on their end, they can send it and you don't have to pay anything, because one of the graphic designers that I had just had to send me stuff, didn't need anything for me to send them. And I was just able to benefit by their having it, and not, I didn't have to have it. Only one of you may need to have that. And that's a cost that they have for doing business. And so just think about that. You may not need to get it at all. The last thing for a later tool is like a PayPal or a Square. Most people already have PayPal, and most people have some way to accept cash. There's the Cash App. I get leery into things that don't provide an invoice or a paper trail. PayPal does and Square does. It'll show you the transactions, but a receipt or something. And remember that a lot of writing expenses, if this course costed you something, or if you bought other courses from me, which this 52-week Write with Tracee is completely free, but I do have other courses on my website that you can purchase. You would want a receipt for that to show that you paid for that and that it is a tax write-off. Any kind of education courses, travel expenses, when I travel, gas mileage and meals, hotel and lodging, all of those things are tax write-offs for me. Even if you're not published, it's still a tax write-off. So you want something that's going to track. If you paid for a book cover, or if I paid for a writing program, I want a receipt to show that I paid for that. And printing out your credit card statement or printing out your bank statement from your debit card is not going to work. All of your transactions are on there. So you want an actual receipt or actual invoice that says paid on it in order to have proof that you paid for those things. Be aware of what produces an invoice and what doesn't. App does, but PayPal and Square and there's so many others, I'm certain, will do those things for you and will help you keep track to enter those things, either entering it to like an Excel spreadsheet or just giving it, putting it in a box, having all of them, and then taking it to your tax accountant person that does your taxes. Then you'll have that and be organized. You don't want to be at the end of the year printing all this stuff out and not being organized. So really think about those. These are things to do to get organized now and to ensure that you are ready. One of the things that I have on my my publishing action guide is a list of 11 products. I did mention 10 here, and I think there's only a couple that I don't have that I didn't mention. So I will share from my publishing action guide. The publishing action guide is a 60+ page guide, and I'm getting ready to revamp it. So this one right now is a little discounted at $25. But what I was going to say is that when I do the new one, if you pay the full price, it will be, I'll give you the new one and the old one. There won't be that many changes. It's just a way to ensure that you are able to get both versions. But I wanted to go to the page where I list some of the tools. In the back, there are a bunch of articles, and I list tools that are here. And I think I actually forgot one of them, and that is Grammarly. Grammarly is something to use to check your grammar and check your work. You can use the free version, which has some functions. Some of the functions are limited, or you can pay for a version that will check more in depth. So that is something to think about. I also didn't mention Hootsuite, which you will need later as you get ready to publish your book, and to use social media if you want to use at least up to 3 platforms for free. So if you can write one post and post on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram all at the same time with one post, instead of having to go to Instagram.com and your page, post there, go to Twitter.com, post there, you're saying for the day, and go to Facebook and post there. So those are things that you should start to know, start thinking about. Again, if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up and please subscribe. Remember to check out the blog that I have that expounds on a lot of these topics. All the now and the later resources and tools are in the blog, and I will also probably list them in the description box for this video. And then also check out Instagram, where I do some videos in between some 10-minute and under videos in between these YouTube longer videos that will hopefully be beneficial to you. Those are the tools. Now or later, doesn't matter, just get them help you, use them to help you write faster, write better, write accurately, and let's keep going. I'll see you next time in week 4. Take care.